Hey everybody, Melissa Sorrentino here, the Improv Sophisticate. Want to talk today about the game in the scene. This is an elusive little snipe that we are all on the hunt for. And that's what I want to talk about. When you go into a scene, if you go in with a game already in mind, you will probably find that your scene partner is not going to know what you're doing. And it is kind of pushy to have your own idea of a game that you'd like to play in a scene. I don't condone that at all. I'm totally finding my own definition of improv is very much like improv pure. Improv purist organicist. So that's the Latin term for it, purist organicist. And when we start a scene, I believe the best way to do it is yes and. Just yes and then what happens is you make a discovery. Now, games are something that can be discovered throughout the scene in sort of like a subjective way, depending on kind of what type of person you are or just what seems more glaringly obvious to you. You may find a completely different game than your scene partner. And for me, what helps me when I'm playing with somebody else is if they see a game, I love it if they make it really clear and just like start just like pounding on the game right away so that I can see what stake they're pounding on, and then they pound and I pound and they pound and I pound. If you don't know what I'm talking about, maybe you're just not really to a level where you're talking game yet. I think at IO West, we did it in level 3. I want to say that's when I was first introduced to it. This is after I had already done Second City, and they really never talked about game. They might now, I don't know. This is a long time ago, you guys. But, okay, so a game in a scene is something, everybody's going to define it a little bit different. It's almost like, well, I won't go there, but I was going to say the term codependent because everybody thinks it's something different. But game, okay, to me, game, the most like no-duh way that like I get it, that I got it when I was learning, where I went from somebody who was like, what is this game thing people are talking about, to somebody who was like, I get it. The difference between those two versions of me was at some point along the way, pattern. To me, game is pattern. Game is something that you see that is a little weird or a little odd or a little interesting or a little fun, or, you know, it's something that you're like going through the scene and then all of a sudden you're like, what's that? And that's when you start to play the game. A game can be something like, the first game that I ever saw in a scene was in a workshop at the Groundlings. It was like, they called it, I think it was WOW, the workout workshop, which I think is great. And that was just some place where we were getting our reps. But I was in a scene with this chick who is very awesome, by the way. And she and I were talking about like a bicycle, okay? And somehow just in the midst of this, just yes and, we established that we were two people and one of us had broken our bicycle and the other one was concerned about that. And then suddenly, like, I think I used quotes and then she used a parentheses, you know, and then I used like a comma, and then we just started interjecting, just sort of sprinkling in these like punctuation marks with like hand gestures, and it was hilarious and it worked, and to where it just got to be so heightened that, you know, we were swearing at each other and we were like asterisk, question mark, you know, quotes, and we were doing like, you know, how swear words in cartoons are always like all just the symbols. So that's kind of where that heightened to. So once you find a game, you're gonna just play pattern, and then the pattern will accelerate, and then that's when you heighten it. And that's the simplest way that I can explain game to you guys. I'm sure there's a lot more to say on it, but I'm trying to keep these short in the interest of you guys having a good day. And I hope this insight on what the word game can mean, I just did it again, is something that will be helpful to you. Okay, take care.